Any discussion about abortion requires sensitivity and honesty. Abortion is about life and death. Our discussion today is not intended to condemn or stigmatize anyone. Our objective is to speak with clarity and compassion. Our hearts break for every girl and woman who, in a moment of confusion and desperation, believed that abortion was the best available option. We want to empower and equip others with knowledge to make better choices for their future. Any woman or man who has experienced the pain of abortion and would like to receive help, there are counselors and counseling centers available across the island. We will display the contact for a few at the end of this video. On February 4, 2021, the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CaPRI, released a report entitled Coming to Terms: The Social Costs of Unequal Access to Safe Abortions. The report made 3 recommendations. 1. Parliament should hold a secret conscience vote to legalize abortion on demand in Jamaica. 2. Girls under 18 should be allowed to access abortion on demand without their parents' knowledge or consent. And 3. Taxpayers should pay for abortions, especially so that poor women can have abortions. CaPRI describes itself as, and I quote, an independent public policy think tank, sharing information that is unbiased and untainted by special interests, and producing sound research that offers a comprehensive perspective and solutions to the most pressing developmental issues of the day. End of quote. That sounds nice, but that hasn't happened with this CaPRI report. CaPRI took the data and interpreted it according to their worldview, their way of seeing the world and how they want it to work. And as you will hear for yourselves, CaPRI's worldview declares war on the weak. Understand this: once your worldview is set on a foundation that embraces lies, your arguments will be flawed and your conclusions distorted. Here are 6 of the lies promoted in the CaPRI report.
Lie number 1, bad definitions. Let us explore 3 of the terms frequently misused in the abortion discussion by pro-abortion advocates and what those terms really mean. The first one, termination of pregnancy. Pregnancies don't last forever. They're not meant to. Every pregnancy terminates or comes to an end, usually after 9 months. However, CaPRI and other abortion advocates use abortion and termination of pregnancy interchangeably. This is purposely misleading. A vaginal delivery or delivery via cesarean section of a live baby can be classified as a termination of pregnancy because the mother is no longer pregnant. A miscarriage or spontaneous abortion where the mother's body itself ends the pregnancy is also a termination of pregnancy. Second term, abortion or induced abortion. This refers to the deliberate procedure to kill a living unborn child in the womb. This abortion is a termination of pregnancy. This abortion is the subject of the CaPRI study and the national debate in Parliament. But it is not natural and does not result in the live birth of a baby. Whenever you hear someone use the term termination of pregnancy, ask them to clarify. Which kind of termination are you referring to? Third term, safe and unsafe. Now, the CaPRI report did not define safe abortion, but it cites the World Health Organization's definition of unsafe abortions, meaning when a pregnancy is terminated either by persons lacking the necessary skills or in an environment that does not conform to minimal medical standards or both. Does that mean that when the report refers to safe abortions, it means abortions performed by persons with the necessary training or in an environment that conforms to minimal medical standards or both? Well, the concise Oxford Dictionary defines safe as uninjured, secure, out of or not exposed to danger. In an abortion, there are two patients, the mother and the unborn baby. In a safe abortion, the baby always dies. That is the aim of an abortion. Does that sound safe to you? Please understand that all abortions are unsafe, whether legal or not, regardless of the location of the person performing the procedure, or the age or stage of development of the unborn baby, or the age of the mother. Abortion is unsafe, period. What impact is there on the mother? Some of the physical risks include heavy bleeding, infections of the womb or cervix, and perforation of the walls of the womb. Regarding mental and emotional health, a 2018 study from Finland found that rates of suicide dramatically increased in women after an abortion, whereas suicide rates decreased in women who experienced miscarriage or delivery of a live baby. A 2020 study found that in Finland again, the risk of death from legal induced abortion is reported to be almost 4 times greater than the risk of death from childbirth. In the United States, the death rate from legal induced abortion performed at 18 weeks gestation is more than double that observed for women experiencing vaginal delivery. Which of these types of termination of pregnancy would you label as safe for the two patients, mother and child? Abortion advocates present abortion as a viable, healthy alternative to having the baby. It isn't. Abortion is not health care. It only leads to the death of innocent human lives, and there are major physical and mental health implications for a mother following an abortion.
Lie number 2, bad statistics. The use of numbers in any research paper carries weight. They are part of the evidence of the claims being made. But what if the numbers are knowingly fake or manipulated in order to steer your opinions in a certain direction? If numbers are used wrongly, can you trust the claims being made or the conclusions suggested? CaPRI says abortion should be legalized because it is the third leading cause of maternal death, and legalizing will reduce the numbers of mothers dying. CaPRI also estimates that between 10 to 37% of all pregnancies end up in abortion, meaning that an estimated 6,000 to 22,000 abortions take place a year. What are the actual facts? When you examine the studies by Dr. Afet McCobbins, which were cited by CaPRI, her study states that hypertension and hemorrhage have been the leading causes of maternal death in Jamaica for over 50 years. Other causes of maternal death are complications of obesity, sickle cell disease, and the emergence of HIV/AIDS into the antenatal population. Abortion is also named as a cause, but it is not a leading cause of death. For the 2-year period, 2016 to 2018, the Ministry of Health records the following as the causes of maternal mortality in Jamaica: hypertension, 23 deaths; obstetric hemorrhage, 12; obstetric embolism, 12; circulatory disease, 11 deaths; respiratory disease, 8; sickle cell disease, 4 deaths; and abortion, 7. However, we should note that the ministry's records joins spontaneous abortion or miscarriage with induced abortion. So it is not evident from the record how many deaths are actually due to induced abortion, which is the subject of the CaPRI report. Either way, induced abortion is not the third leading cause of maternal deaths in Jamaica. Certainly, the death of even one mother from any of these factors is too many, and everything that can be done must be done to save the lives of both mother and child. But legalizing abortion will not make it safer for women, because abortion is not safe. Abortion is a leading cause of death to babies. Legalizing will in fact increase the number of abortions, because clandestine abortions will continue as a parallel market alongside open legal ones. The figure of 22,000 abortions was introduced by the World Health Organization as its estimate number of abortions in the Latin American and Caribbean region. The WHO estimate was based on a generic presumption of the number of abortions done per 1,000 women of childbearing age. That figure was not based on actual research in Jamaica. It was a statistical guess, but is now relied on as if it is a proven fact. Listen to the late Dr. Bernard Nathanson, once called America's abortion king, for his aggressive role in legalizing abortion in America. He later on regretted his action, repented, and spent the rest of his life trying to undo the evil he had enabled. He said, and I quote, "We fed the public a line of deceit, dishonesty, a fabrication of statistics and figures. We succeeded because the time was right and the news media cooperated. We sensationalized the effects of illegal abortions and fabricated polls which indicated that 85% of the public favored unrestricted abortion when we knew it was only 5%. We unashamedly lied, and yet our statements were quoted by the media as though they had been written in law."
Line number 3. Bad sources. CaPRI's report did not rely upon original data based upon first-hand research conducted. No tests, experiments, or surveys were done, and no hypotheses scientifically tested based on primary data actually gathered from within the Jamaican context. Instead, the conclusions and inferences made within the report were based upon the secondary data sources identified by the author, Sarah Marie Very. Therefore, in order to trust the report itself, the sources upon which it relied to arrive at these conclusions, recommendations, and inferences must be assessed critically for reliability and authoritativeness in keeping with recognized academic and scientific standards. The assertions and inferences and conclusions made by the author herself must be assessed to determine whether they are actually supported by the authority cited or any authority at all. Note, an opinion stated within a paper unsupported by a credible source is not to be treated as reliable. Examples of sources that are generally unreliable for the purpose of scientific research are newspaper articles, blogs, and opinion pieces. This is because the conclusions of the authors of those pieces have not been peer-reviewed or subject to critical evaluation and the assessment of bias and methodology accuracy or soundness. The author of the CaPRI report, in support of her conclusions, cited approximately 27 newspaper articles and opinion pieces. Check it out for yourself. The author cited other sources that were non-credible or did not actually lend support to the conclusions of the author herself based on the substance of the primary subject of the source, or whether the conclusions of the cited source were misrepresented by the author of the CaPRI report. The author of the CaPRI report also made assertions that were wholly unsubstantiated. She also did not control for overt bias within the report. No adverse authority was considered, and rather than a testing of a question, a conclusion was presented subjectively as the best way forward for Jamaica, and selective research then gathered to support this conclusion. Here are a few examples. Page 17 of the CaPRI report references a 2009 study among expectant women in Jamaica, which indicated 21% of expectant teenagers reported a previous abortion. What's the source of this study? We see this at footnote 55. The source is a doctoral dissertation on oral health in maternity. Community Dental and Maternal Health Study Jamaica, does oral health care in pregnancy make a difference? A 2009 Urimona PhD dissertation of Sonia Alexander. Second example. Page 17 of the report also makes reference of a 2006 study that estimated that between 1,350 to 4,912 adolescent pregnancies are terminated in Jamaica each year. This study was applied by the author of the CaPRI report to estimate that in 2019, 20 to 50% of teenage pregnancies ended in abortion. What's the cited source? An online newspaper article titled Jamaica for an Abortion Law That Reaches the Poor, footnote 56. What of misleading statements? At page 3 of the CaPRI report, it was stated that the annual cost of treating complications from abortion in the developing world is estimated to be over $500 million annually. And what's the source? A 2008 study by Vlasov, Scherer, Walker, and Lucas titled Economic Impact of Unsafe Abortion-Related Morbidity and Mortality, Evidence and Estimation Challenges. What did the study actually say? The study cited on post-abortion care, PAC, indicated that data was severely lacking. Methods for accurate estimation were restricted. The few studies identified within the paper also used different methodology and categorizing, which made them very difficult to apply broadly. Estimates for Latin America and the Caribbean were made based on limited empirical data from 5 countries: Bolivia, El Salvador, Brazil, Ecuador, and Mexico. The studies identified were also mostly outdated, from around the 90s. 13 countries in total informed the study, which made global estimates. The study concluded, and I quote, "The evidence base on the cost of unsafe abortion is limited, and regional or global estimates are currently unknown." It went on to say, and I quote, "In each case, however, the added information, though theoretically appealing, is scant and necessitates assumptions that only roughly approximate reality. For example, the pattern of severity is maintained constant across all regions for lack of more specific regional data. This limitation probably distorts regional prevalence estimates, with only 5 empirical studies, only 2 of which are from Latin America, having used the MBP, mother-baby package costing spreadsheet. Precise estimates of global and regional costs of post-abortion care treatment are not possible." Finally, the assertion of the author of the CaPRI report at footnote 11 of the report that putting the issues of abortion and the retention of the bugger laws to referendum are inappropriate is a subjective value judgment with no data cited to lend support to the author's opinion, which suggests bias. Around the world, many sovereign nations have put these issues to referendum to determine the course the democratic country should take in charting its future. For example, Ireland, Switzerland, Portugal, Liechtenstein, Gibraltar, Croatia, Bermuda, Australia, among others. This is not without precedent. Jamaica would not be pursuing an inappropriate, quote, course of action if this was done. In fact, it was upon the promise of multiple referenda that the present administration assumed power in 2016. Fulfill your promise. Let the people decide.
Line number 4, bad logic. The CaPRI study uses bad logic. It presupposes that there is a human right to abortion, enabling women to realize their fullest potential. This is false. There is no right to kill an innocent human being. Every human being does have a right to life. This is the first and most important right. All humans have a right to life, regardless of race, sex, age or stage of development, size, intellect, memory, dependence on, or inconvenience to others. No one has the right to interfere with that life. Abortion advocates use bad biology. They say they don't know when human life begins, but it can only begin when it begins, at conception. This is a scientific and medical fact. The fusion of sperm and egg creates a completely unique individual with unique DNA, beginning a process that, if uninterrupted, will lead to birth and eventually natural death. The study recommended abortion access to minors without parental consent. There are many issues with this recommendation, but I'll only point out a few. The legal age of consent in Jamaica is 16 years old. How is it that a child cannot consent to sexual activity, but she can consent to a life-altering and life-destroying medical procedure? The study pointed out large numbers of girls and boys engaging in sexual behavior before age 15, and some of them with partners at least 10 years older than themselves. That is statutory rape and possible incest. This recommendation does not help girls, but further victimizes them and simultaneously emboldens their abusers, who will find solace in access to free, easy abortions, no questions asked. The CaPRI study advocates for abortion on request, with no required pre-abortion counseling or waiting period, but mandatory post-abortion counseling. Why would one require counseling for something that is good or safe? The CaPRI study claims that abortion will save Jamaica 1.4 million US dollars yearly. That is 203 million Jamaican dollars. The average abortion costs are 900 US dollars or 130,000 Jamaican dollars for a first trimester abortion, 1,700 US dollars or 250,000 Jamaican dollars for a second trimester abortion, and upwards of 3,000 US dollars or 430,000 Jamaican dollars for a third trimester abortion. If at a minimum, as CaPRI claims, that 6,000 legal first trimester abortions are performed, the price tag is 5.4 million US dollars. That's 810 million Jamaican dollars. So I ask you, where are the savings? Who profits from that huge expense? And is that the best use of such a large sum of money?
Lie number 5, bad politics. CaPRI recommends a secret conscience vote by parliamentarians to repeal the law that prohibits abortion and protects the life of the unborn child. This is absolutely wrong. It's a betrayal of our democracy. Parliamentarians are elected by the citizens to represent the views of those citizens in Parliament. Parliament must carry out its work in a transparent manner so that the citizens can hold them accountable. To allow a secret vote would set a dangerous precedent. What other laws could Parliament pass that would take away life and freedom from Jamaicans without their knowledge? This recommendation opens the door for Jamaica to become a totalitarian state where a few politicians rule and the will of the people is ignored. The will of the people is to preserve life. A 2019 RGR Don Anderson poll found that 75% of Jamaicans, the majority of Jamaicans, said no, do not legalize the killing of babies in their mother's womb. We have heard from a number of parliamentarians from both political parties, and they are for the murder of babies. That is clearly not the will of the people. A much better representation of the will of the people would be a clearly stated referendum. No to secret vote, yes to referendum. But CaPRI's disregard of democracy goes further. CaPRI says its reason for recommending the secret vote is, quote, to protect elected parliamentarians from fear of retribution by religious groups, end of quote. CaPRI uses a devious strategy of labeling any objection to abortion as religious. Throughout the report, CaPRI calls anyone who objects to the murder of babies as the religious, religious groups, or religious institutions. And yet, CaPRI does not mention any of the objections by these pro-life religious. This CaPRI that says it is unbiased and untainted by special interests and offers a comprehensive perspective never once examined any of the scientific evidence and reams of local and international research data presented by the religious in Parliament, such as the medical truth of the abortion procedure or the physical and psychological impact of the trauma of abortion on women and men, or the analysis of local and international law on human rights and the right to life of the unborn child. Not a peep out of CaPRI. Why? Because CaPRI is a special interest group. They want to sow the lie that anyone, Christian or not, who does not agree with their position is not entitled to voice their opinion and exercise their democratic freedom to advocate for the right to life of children. This is how desperate CaPRI is to silence free speech, suppress truth, and aid and abet the murder of babies.
Lie number 6. Blood money. The Merriam-Webster dictionary calls money obtained at the cost of another's life blood money. Abortion is the intentional killing of babies. Who profits? Abortionists. CaPRI's recommendation that the killing of babies be prioritized public policy will profit abortionists, and taxpayers will have to pay for it. CaPRI wants you to pay blood money to the abortionists for taking the life of your fellow citizens. Who else profits? Well, CaPRI has. They received money from the European Union to carry out this study. They have taken blood money. In fact, their study shows a before-the-fact commitment to justify abortions at all costs. But not just abortion of any baby, but the abortion of poor Jamaican babies. The CaPRI has made its target the demographic of poor women and poor children only. This is a red flag signaling the worldview. That is the philosophical mindset of CaPRI. The appropriate name is eugenics. CaPRI has made itself a voice piece for this most vile ideology, the classist and racist belief that some babies are more valuable and superior than other babies. Eugenics dictates that inferior babies should not be conceived, and if they are, they should be aborted. Eugenics says that inferior babies are the babies of poor girls and women, or so-called unplanned, unwanted babies. Eugenicists argue that the poor should use birth control, and if it fails, follow up with abortion. The truth is, eugenicists don't want to eliminate poverty. They just want to eliminate the poor. This is poricide, the strategic, institutionalized genocide of the poor. It is interesting to note that the lead researcher in this CaPRI study is Sarah Maria Viri, a researcher from the EU. She's also the lead researcher in another EU-sponsored CaPRI study entitled The Economic and Societal Cost of Sexuality-Based Discrimination in Jamaica. Another study full of flawed arguments, distorted definitions, and bad conclusions. We don't know Miss Viri, but what we do want to know is what exactly is the role and aim of the EU in the propagation of these two studies. Is this another platform for white Europe to get poor black nations to destroy themselves? Is this another example of cultural imperialism, the imposition of foreign ideology and the culture of death that the EU itself is dying from? We don't want it. We want to preserve life. Who else profits? Sexual predators, pimps, traffickers, whose abuse and crime will be covered up thanks to CaPRI, and fathers who want to escape responsibility. CaPRI places sole responsibility for childbearing and rearing on the mother, silence on the role of the father. Who will not profit from abortion? The poor, vulnerable woman who CaPRI says it wants to help out of poverty. No poor woman ever became wealthy by killing her children. Abortion would make her poorer from the various physical and emotional harms caused by abortion. Abortion stands for eugenics. Abortion stands for racism and anti-womanhood.
Viewers and listeners, these are just 6 of the lies being advanced in the CaPRI report on abortion. There are others. CaPRI's study must be thoroughly examined and tested, and its recommendations rejected. CaPRI has revealed its worldview. Its agenda is to be anti-democracy, anti-children, anti-life, anti-woman, anti-sustainable development for Jamaica.
The existing abortion law represents the truth of a situation. Unborn babies are human beings with a right to life. We must protect life. Mercy and grace should not be in short supply. Citizens and government have to work together to help girls and boys, women, men, and their families, whether they're in crisis or not. There are local organizations and individuals who support pregnant teenagers to achieve a good measure of success, resume formal education, and avoid additional unplanned pregnancies. There are also many foster and adoptive families, Christian and non-Christian, who have opened their hearts and homes to raise someone else's child as their own. We need more. We must also teach and encourage girls and boys, men and women, to make wise relationship choices, exercise self-discipline and self-respect for each other.
Life has many challenges. We're all flawed people living in an imperfect and unfair world. But it is far better to take the longer and harder road that leads to life than the so-called easy and convenient route to destruction of individuals and nations. The hope and call of the Jamaican national anthem, "Strengthen us the weak to cherish," means that you and I have a part to play in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. And it starts by valuing human life, whether you're rich or poor, black or white, young or old, born or unborn. Protect and preserve human life. This was the CaPRI Abortion Report. Read between the lines. Thank you for watching.